When I started painting, I'm trying to act on impulse and not think too much. When I think too much, I overproduce, and I don't like that. I just want to be in the moment. All the time we have isn't given. Don't take it for granted. I'm nowhere near finished. I'm nowhere near where I need to be. I just got to continue the legacy. I got to continue to grow and live for the people that can't live today. I'm still in the starting blocks. Because every time I paint, I'm rediscovering myself. I'm not a painter. I'm not an artist. I'm just here trying to find myself at the end of the day. Won't you give me sweetness and light for my restless mind? Please give me.
Hey there, welcome back to my channel. I'm Carquillat, a commercial DP and filmmaker living in New York, and today we're going to be talking about my spec ad with Shinola watches. It's going to be a really good one. One of the things we wanted to do about the spec commercial was make one for something we actually really like and enjoy already. That being the watch I've had for 2.5 years. I'm not even wearing it right now. It's off to the side and it's a beautiful hardwood case. We were trying to figure out how to present the watch, and in all of our research online, other watch commercials and brands, it really is lifestyle. It's not actually showing so much of the watch up close. It's more of showing everything else that's around it. Showing the type of person that would be using the watch. Our thought was the Detroit watch made for the hard worker, for the hard worker. Nick and I were talking about, we were trying to figure out who would actually fit the bill, and the person that Nick brought up was his friend Eric, who is a fantastic artist. He creates his own clothes, he's a bike rider, and he has his own little studio in Kingston, not too far away from us. So we decided to do a day in the life of him wearing the watch because he has such great style. He's also a model, and we did some photos with him that day too. Style on this thing, well, I just want to be more of my traditional docu style that's a little more elevated. So we kept it pretty simple. We had a couple of planned out shots, but for the most part, we really just lived in Eric's space for like 2-3 hours and saw what we could get, made sure to highlight the watch as much as we could in his natural movements. Eric is such a fantastic model already. It took almost zero direction for him. And working with Nick was so great. We've been longtime friends. We've been friends since ever since high school, and this is the first time we got to work on a very artistic piece together. In the past, back in high school, we worked on YouTube videos with a couple of our friends, but you know, stuff no one ever is going to see. But Nick and I, we just worked really well together. It felt very natural. Like what he was gonna say, I already knew half the time. What I was gonna say, he already knew half the time. Like he was thinking of a shot in his head, I was already grabbing the shot. It was really fluid, made our whole day go by super fast. Let's talk about the lighting for this and the space, because this is Eric's home studio. It's very tight in there. Like I'm talking smaller than the room we're in right now, but it has very good window light. So we want to make sure that we were there on a good day that had very nice window light coming through. I brought a very minimal lighting kit, just a couple of light panels from my documentary kit and a couple of Colbert 60-watt units as well. So we just tried to kind of push a little bit of the window light from inside using the light panels. The thing is, if you're in a really good space that has really good natural lighting to begin with, you don't want to go crazy. We put camera up in the first 5 minutes and it just looked fantastic in there. So all we did was give it a little push. That's all it needed. One of my favorite shots on the commercial actually was the POV shot on the bike. We rigged up the XH2S with a couple of super clamps and magic arms and got it just right up in there. I'm talking like right up in there. We had it perfectly on him, and it was kind of cool. We actually only did a couple takes. Actually, on the take we ended up using in the clip, the camera was just about to fall off, and Eric, like a complete boss, grabbed it while riding the bike and saved it. Thank God. We thought it was perfectly secure, but you know, you can never be too safe. Never. We were trying to get this very nice, you know, push-in moment from top down that would work really well. We weren't getting something smooth enough because we're using a 100mm macro lens to try and get as close to the watch face as possible, which even then we ended up using diopters. So my bright idea was to swing the diopter in front of the lens to kind of create a movement effect. You know, in the end, the jib didn't actually do anything. It just was quick to reposition the camera for it, which, you know, for the amount of setup, I was happy to be able to quickly change from position to position. We shot it on the Canon C70. I shot with the Leica R lenses and a speed booster. Here's some of my favorite lenses. I actually bought these a super long time ago before they became super popular, and I've been using them ever since. I actually only bust them out on a couple commercials here and there, but every time I do, I'm reminded why I love that Leica look. It's just so perfect, and I love the lenses are really small too, so I'm able to keep the whole package really tight and be able to move in really small spaces. It's funny, besides a particular gear review, I actually don't think I'm going to be talking about gear as often when we do projects like these. I really just like talking about the fun we had making them and the thought process behind it. You know, even if it's as simple as this one, having that one person that Nick has known for so long that has this lifestyle that just fits the brand so well. And whenever you could do something like that with a brand, like find that exact market that it would be selling to and do it with them, I think it's just golden. I don't think it's going to be hard. I think once you do that, you have everything you need. So once everything was shot, we got back to the studio, I imported everything, and I kid you not, it took about 2 days to get a lock cut on this thing because Nick and I had already been visualizing this for so long. There was so much good stuff to choose from. It actually was kind of hard to bring it under 90. With all the stuff I got, all the great shots I had, I really wanted to just put almost everything in there. But you gotta trim stuff down sometimes and just go for what you think at least is the best of the best or serves the story the best. It's not always the best shot, it's sometimes the best shot that fits the moment. One of the things I wanted to make sure is that this felt fluid, super fluid, because I wanted it to feel snappy and I wanted it to be 90 seconds or less. Once I had the cut in place, then I sent that off to Nick for sound design and for him to interlace a VO track that he did with Eric to kind of seal the deal, you know, make the whole piece really come together. And when Nick was doing his post work, this is all the behind the scenes here right now, but when Nick was doing all his post work, I went in to create our color grade at this workstation. Usually I have all the blinds pulled here and this room is completely dark just to work at the space. But I wanted to create something that was really warm and had a little bit of light leak, and something I don't do is I don't shoot with filtration when I'm doing the final color on something. The reason I don't do that is because I use a post filtration system that in Resolve, and I actually use the Scatter OFX. I don't use Resolve's newest built-in one. I haven't tried it yet. I've been using Scatter OFX for the longest time because I can just input many different filtrations and adjust the intensity and where it's actually hitting, so it's something I like doing a lot. I wanted to really feel the warmth in this. I wanted to feel some really deep tones in this, the very deep tones you would get in a film grade more than anything else. And that's what I was trying to achieve this entire time while still highlighting our watch. Some of the other additional things, I added some actual lens flaring, stuff we weren't actually getting in the day because by the time we started filming the bike scene at the end of the day, we started to lose a little bit of light. So I added this stuff to kind of spice it up. There's a lot of things you could do in post to really make stuff pop. I'm using a CST workflow for this project. And one of the things I'm doing right off the bat is I am doing a transformation from the Canon C-Log 2 that I was shooting in, so that's right here, and then that is going to our Rec 709 in, which is happening right here. And that is just our start off. So that is us working in a color managed workflow in DaVinci Resolve. So from here is where I start to really make some adjustments. So I'm gonna start off with like my balance and exposure, which just kind of brightening the frame a little bit. This one I'll usually come back to a little bit later. But I like it. I want it to warm up a little bit because it's coming out a little teal in the background. So we're gonna start building that out. I'm actually gonna decrease my saturation to start, and then I am gonna do my temperature with chromatic adaptation, which is a much better way to do your color temperature inside of Resolve. It's much more fine-tuned with a source illuminant and a target illuminant. So I'm able to really dial this in. So this is my warmer texture I'm gonna start off with. And with that, we actually have a highlighted area. So that is really just the skin tone right around here. And that's where we're making a couple of our adjustments. And that's where we're making just a slight adjustment in the gain and the lift on his skin tones right here. So we're gonna turn that on and off. So that's just adding a little bit of pop right to him. And then in our trim, this is where we have our curves and a little bit of extra adjustment there. You can see that's actually kind of pushing it. That's me working here in my lift gamma gain, as well as adding a slight curve. And with this kind of curve, I'm really pulling down my highlights. I'm getting a little more of that filmic transition from highlight to midtone. So this is where I'm adding my texture. This is my 35mm film grain preset, which I'm adding that right on top, which you can kind of see a little bit more once I come in close here. So that's coming off, coming on. It's a very, very slight touch. Now my spare node here, this one is for my scatter effect. So this is gonna actually kind of change the way the highlights are reacting. We're using glimmer glass on this entire project. You can kind of see it's just softening just a little bit. And one of the things I really like about shooting on the Canon C70 is it's a true 4K sensor. It's not like a even higher res sensor that's overly sharp. The 4K sensor on the C70 is just so nice because it's not overly sharp. It doesn't produce this very digital looking image. It's actually the closest to Alexa images that I've come across on sensors in terms of like sharpness, which I really like. All right, so then we have our color transformation right here. So that's where we are. That's pretty close to our final image. And then what we're gonna do is add my Mononodes pack. So we have the mono saturation, which is going to increase our saturation and how deep it is as well. We're then gonna do a mono desat for the colors I wanna take down. This is, and then a density of application, which this one is really gonna increase the tonality of our colors, which gets us more of that filmic look. So first we're gonna start off with a saturation, which I just increased the cyan saturation just a little bit here, or a lot of it. Then you're gonna do the desat, which was on the green because it was a little too strong, and on the yellow and the red. So this is a very minimal thing. You see it more in the fingertips here. And that's where I'm just kind of working. So this is a very subtle change, but it's just kind of making our tonality a little better instead of just color and color and color. Then we're going to use our density application. So this I always use for reds. Any reds, yellows, greens, that's what I really love using this for. So do that. All of a sudden, there's your density. That feels more real. It doesn't feel like just this really red skin tone that brings it all out. We're just gonna look at this one more time. This is gonna go no density applied, density applied. No density, density applied. It's just so much more natural looking. It's one of my favorite plugins to be using. It's a DCTL. I can link where you get it in the description, along with the scatter effect, which is a paid plugin. Now that we've like smoothed out the tonality of the image, now I can bring those fingers kind of back up and make the highlights pop a little bit. So that's right there. And then this is just a slight adjustment in our contrast. So this kind of smooths everything out a little bit more. The last thing I did to just give it a little bit, that extra last kick into the filmic look, was the Kodak transformation. So we went to Cineonlog and then changed it into a Kodak film emulation. And this I've dialed in. The other note I wanted to also make was for this shot. So this shot, I did pretty much everything exactly the same, but the one thing I changed in here really was this whole background right here. This is fake. Because of that, it looks good, but it's almost too clean. I wanted to add a little bit more contrast into it, make it feel like there's a slash of light coming in. And I kind of did that in a couple places on this film, just to dial it in a little bit more, since we were such a small crew and we didn't have the time to really dial in every single thing that we were doing lighting wise. Our gaffer was only around actually for the first half of the day, since it was a spec project. No one was being paid to do this. So this was another really great shot. It's one of my favorites, honestly. I love how the watch isn't the actual center of attention in these films. I love how it's really just, it's just part of him. It's part of his personality in this, and that makes it so much better, because it's really about Eric while being about the watch. Like, Eric is like the A personality, the watch is the B personality in this. But these were great. This honestly, this was a really great shot where using the scatter effect really was great, because I was able to change the amount of density on his hands, because we were shooting right up against the window in his apartment, and this is fantastic. Like, I didn't have to let the entire hand get washed out. Like, I love doing this in post, because I'm able to capture all my contrast and all my detail without losing any of it, and then control how much of it I could put in just like that. You know, just for, it's perfect. Because you could still see, like, there's still plenty of contrast in the hand. You could see divots in the hand and in the paint without losing any of that. Anyway, thanks for watching another YouTube video. I know it's been about 2 months since the last one, and I've been thinking about what to make for a long time. The Spec commercial seemed like the perfect thing to be able to show off and talk about a little bit. I know I'm a bit of a rambler. I'm not the best at that. I'm still trying to get used to doing this. I gotta get better at writing scripts and stuff. I really want to do this more full on in between projects. But at the same time, I'm also working on other projects that are going to be premiering on YouTube for other clients of mine that have their own shows happening. And when that stuff comes out, I'll do a little more talking about how to make it, it's a kitchen design show with a little bit of reality content in there as well. And let me know in the comments. Wait a second, my light's off. The light's fixed. What you want to see, what kind of stuff you want to do, because I can be more techie about things. Honestly, if you want to see how I even rigged out the C70, there is a video you can look at over here, which, you know, didn't get a lot of views. I'm still trying to figure some stuff out, and I'm not going to be making stuff on a schedule, because that is a little difficult right now, but I'm hoping to at least post at least one video a month, and I'm going to give it a little more of my time every single time I do it. Is there stuff that you want to see, me talk about, or different kinds of commercials? Do you want to see behind the scenes of bigger sets? Let me know, and you know, we'll just make it happen. I'm working on it. When I shoot this part, it's just me and a couple hours that I can spare. So my fizz unit just died, so we're stuck at this focal length right now. But thanks for watching. Consider subscribing and liking the video. It really does help out, and share it with your friends. And yeah, I guess we'll see what the next video is. Let me know if there's anything else from this commercial that you want to hear talked about. You know, sound off in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Studio, I started.
In this very moment in time, Luke decided it would have been nice to write a script, even a guideline, just something to make this more concise. It would have been similar to a dog throwing itself a bone. Obviously, a dog can't do that, but a human can. Luke can. And you think he would? Instead of constant pauses and not knowing what to say. Maybe he learned his lesson this time.